we're going to circle back here on this Rory McIlroy thing. I have the transcript. He was asked, in this effort to kind of repair a fractured landscape, do you have an opinion on how that gets done in terms of bringing guys back who cashed in to join with the guys who didn't? And is that difficult? Which great question. I don't know who asked this, but like the idea of what this would look like to me is so hard to figure out. Rory responded and said, quote, I think life is about choices. Guys made choices to go play LIV. Guys made choices to stay here. If people still have eligibility on this tour and they want to come back and play, or you want to try and do something, let them come back. I mean, I think it's hard to punish people. I don't think there should be a punishment for, obviously I've changed my tune on that because I see where golf is, and I see that having a diminished PGA Tour and having a diminished LIV Tour or anything else is bad for both parties. It would be much better being together and moving forward together for the good of golf. That's my opinion of it. He then finished up by saying, so to me, the faster that we all get back together and start to play and start to have the strongest field possible is I think is great for golf. KP, even through that, you could see him thinking through that response in real time, and he's seemingly going through the same thought process that we are as fans.
Totally. That's exactly what I was going to say. And I think that it's really hard for somebody like him who is going to give you what he thinks. I mean, pretty much 99%, probably 100% of the time, he's going to give you what he thinks. And when you're giving what you think about a really complicated situation over a long period of time, you're going to have to wear some stuff, right? You're going to have to walk some stuff back. And it's been interesting to see his sort of emotional reaction over the last, what's it been, almost 2 years now, Rick, because it's mirrored, I think, a lot of, like you said, it's mirrored, I think, a lot of our reaction. Like, oh, remember the beginning of LIV at Riviera 2 years ago, 2021? It was like, oh, this is so stupid. Like, this is never going to, like, the rogue golf league in Saudi Arabia. And that's when he said it's dead in the water, you know? And if you look at the timeline of him saying, like, kind of following it as we have all followed it, a lot of the things he said, we were either thinking or feeling or texting to each other or whatever. Not everything, but a lot of it. And I think that this is a really interesting position because who has the most to gain from these guys being punished on their way back to the PGA Tour if they end up back on the PGA Tour? Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, the guys that stayed, right? And so he's sort of, and I don't want to make Rory out to be a martyr. Like, he's fine, right? He's doing okay, but he has a lot to gain if guys like that are punished because he didn't leave. And he's saying, listen, for the good of golf, for the people that are fans, for the future of the game, for the long-term health of whatever this league ends up being, let's just expedite the process, which I think is you can say like, oh, he can't figure out what he thinks, he's a flip-flop or whatever. I think it's a pretty admirable thing given the position that he's in right now.
You know, we were kind of referencing that a little bit earlier in this show. And Mark, no matter whether it should have been put on Rory's shoulders or not, he has been the spokesperson for the PGA Tour the last couple of years. And he personally, I mean, he has really turned down the temperature in the last couple of weeks. It has been a much more, I don't want to say pleasant, but I'll just say he's definitely turned down the temperature on this.
Yeah, he definitely has. I don't think it was put on his shoulders. I think he took it upon himself, and he was showing his leadership savvy. He knew he was, look, the best player on the PGA Tour, according to resume. And so, oftentimes it's the best one that stands up because Tiger Woods was kind of absent at the start, so somebody had to. So Rory showed his who he was. I will say this, you can critique him for having to walk some stuff back, but everybody makes mistakes and everyone needs an element of grace to what they do. And if you're going to stand up and defend someone, it might turn around on you. But you know what? Kudos to him for having the gumption to stand up and say something anyhow. Because a lot of people could have played it coy and then come out looking like wizards when everything now starts to become less murky, and then they come with their wisdom. No, Rory's been very pragmatic, very wise through the entire thing, and now showing his maturity to be able to go, well, look, I see what's happening right now, and I feel like this is where we should go. So, look, I've all kinds of respect for him, and he's been a real leader through it all.
It's also, he also doesn't represent guys who would have a problem with that anymore, right? He's not on the player or the what's it? I never get the name right. The
Back.
Not
advisory council,
the leadership, the actual
Direct.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have to speak for the Chesson Hadleys of the world anymore, who probably don't agree with that statement. And like Rory and a lot of those guys at the top, they're fine. Like, who cares if you get an extra? I mean, they probably care. He might be alone in not caring, or Tiger might be alone in, or those guys might, they're in a different stratosphere probably. But I do think he's able to say some of these things in a way that he probably couldn't before, because he was representing the interests of 250 people.
He would go on to say, he was asked, Patrick, is a win here cheapened by the fact that John, referencing Rahm, and DJ, referencing Dustin Johnson, is not playing this week? Rory would say, yeah, I'd like to win here and stand up with a trophy on 18 green and know that I've beaten all the best players in the world. So yeah, pretty clear in that stance.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty clear. Like you said, the best players in the world, not all of them are here. Those two, Brooks, Bryson. I mean, how cool would it be to see Bryson DeChambeau try to figure out Pebble Beach this week in all the wind, all the numbers? I mean, his missed guy on the range would be working overtime, and it sucks that it's not going to happen. So literally just to echo what they both said, what is life if you're not willing to change your opinion when new information is presented, right? So kudos to Rory to kind of fall on his sword, realize that for the greater good of the game of golf, everyone does need to come together. It's cool to kind of walk back to his corner with his tail in between his legs if it means that golf's going to come together, and this will expedite it. So kudos to him. Hopefully in the near future, all we're talking about is golf.